To arrive in style, first you have to arrive.
Don't understand what's going on here.
The all-new 4th generation.
This is Lungani Gwala, aka Chocolate Kid Leo. Join our growing show, The Global Sunday. We stream live on YouTube every Sunday, 11:30 a.m. for American MT time. African time, 8:30 p.m. every Sunday. We host special guests. We give you latest news, global news, and the entertainment news. Click the link below if you want to find out more. Thumbs up and some hearts. Cheers.
Hi, my name is Ashley DeChristina. I go by Ash. Make time for what you love and for the people you love. Thank you for watching Global Sundays with Lungani.
What up, world? My name is Jesse Villegas. I'm originally from Phoenix, Arizona. Currently, I reside in Prescott, Arizona. I own and operate a coffee shop called The Porch. Work hard and be kind. And you're watching Global Sunday with Lungani.
For those that don't know me, I'm a singer. I'm a singer who loves God. You know, I'm that singer who loves God. I sing with Him every time I ever sing. So I'm that singer that tells a story.
With anything in life, there will be challenges, there will be hurdles and stumbling blocks, but the communication.
Ay, bathi khuluma la umfana batsha sikhamba kanjani uLungani Gwala lo, aka umfana ka Chocolate Kid. I'm too sweet, you cannot eat me, but you can only kiss me. Ay, welcome to the Global Sunday Show. Ay, angeke ngithi nje kancane ngizehlise kancane and say joining us from Australia we have David Pyke. And joining us from the US, Arizona, we have Mr. Ken Ladin. And all the way from South Africa, it's Miss Classic. Welcome to the Global Sunday Show.
Right?
Yeah,
How's the weather today in Arizona, and how's the weather today in South Africa?
The weather in Arizona, we wake up in the morning and it's like really cold. And then as soon as the sun is over the horizon, it gets really hot. And so we're sort of right in that transition right now.
Okay, Miss Classic.
Yeah, no, here in South Africa, it is warm. Welcome to everyone and greetings. It is warm, it's sunny. It's been sunny the whole day. Yeah, so we are cool.
We are cool and it's sunny. Australia, it's 4:30 in the morning and the kangaroos are just waking up. But it's the start of our week out. It's already Monday here. It's Global Sunday, so we've gone a little bit ahead of you guys. But it's wonderful to be part of this panel again with our special guest today, a very prolific writer, but that will come in a minute. So just as the start of the week kicks off, I've just had my coffee burst and I'm raring to go. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. On my side, things were not okay because, as you can see today, I'm wearing a hat. It's not only because I'm celebrating the heritage or the Africa Month. It's also because I lost my son, my brother's only son, my late brother's late only son. So this symbolizes that I'm grieving and I'm in peace today, even though I'm in pain. But yeah, through God's mercy, I will have strength to go on with the life, even though we still have some unanswered questions. But then rather than that, my week has been very cool because we could remember Mr. Pyke. We did a show, interview with the Playhouse cast on Friday.
Yes.
So this is how we started our week in a good mood. And it was an interview for the fabulous show that we had on Saturday. Themba Mkhize and Africa Mkhize and Nokukhanya Dlamini. Oh, I was so inspired when she sang the Princess Magogo's song Uyingcwele. It was just a blast of the show. And also we attended the show of Raphael Vilakazi, where he's doing human rights through songs. It was a fabulous show at the Stable Theatre on Saturday at 3. And also to close, I had the Articulate Africa show today before I went to Inanda FM. Articulate Africa, we had Uhlengiwe Mhlaba, we had Andile Majola, Dumim Kokstad, all these fabulous gospel singers, and it was fabulous. It was awesome.
I'm so jealous. I know the Playhouse in Durban.
I wish you were here to witness, but there are things in Durban. Things are happening. You must come.
Yes. I know
Over to you, Mr.
Playhouse.
We're just going to go to the entertainment news because already we are late with a minute. And then when we come back, we talk some more with our panels. Remember, today we have Nelly Shozana. She's a book writer and she is a publisher. We're going to be talking to her. Please do stay with us. And also do drop us our comments. We are live on YouTube also and also on Facebook. If you can drop us a comment below. You have questions, you have comments, you have concerns. Anything goes with you. So when we come back from the entertainment news, I will definitely introduce back our panel. I know Mr. Laden has been traveling and he might be having some issues with the signal. But yeah, I just want to say that we have a competition where we partner up with this Jaeger production where we select models. And, there was like 45 models. Now we're down to 10 models. And instead of the entertainment news, we're updating everyone weekly, who's winning, who's not winning, who get upset, and all those crazy stuff. So today we're going to be giving you a second episode of Faces of Z Models. Enjoy. We'll be back right now.
Welcome to another exciting episode of Faces of Z Models. And this is your girl, Smakalem Miketi. Let the games begin. The scoreboard. Let's take a look at what happened last week. Watch this and I'll see you in a moment. I'm a mother of 3 beautiful girls and I am also a wife. I'm married to a very handsome guy, guys. I'm a very handsome guy. And also I'm a plus size model, brand ambassador, and I'm a creativist. I'm in the creative space and I work with artists to make sure that their work is recognized. Let me just give you an example of what I'm talking about. Check this out. Models were given a challenge to post their best photos, and whoever gets the most likes was going to win a gift from one of our sponsors. So if you know the models and you follow them, make sure that you like their picture, because that will take them through to the next challenge. Let's do that.
Dubulan guys, my name is Shadiat Wanjini's aka She 18 years, one of the faces of the models.
I am Unatin Bogani. I'm 17 years old and I'm a student. I am confident and I have positive energy.
Well, my name is Buchiro Adopare, currently staying in Soweto Middles. I am a law student at UNISA and the founder of
I am a 19 years old from Soweto Dikloof. Why should I win this competition? It's because I'm unique and vibrant.
Hi, my name is Nina Chavran. I'm in the Z Models production. Hashtag Z Models.
Hi guys, my name is Eunice Mukwena Mativi. I'm one of the face of Z Models. Hashtag Z Models.
Hi guys, my name is Naledi Lemon and I'm in the Z Model production.
Hi guys, my name is Mbalisha Mintikodo and I'll be the face of Z Models.
Now let's go check which model is leading on our social media. Let's do this.
Facebook scoreboard. We have 002 with 13 likes and 109 comments. Next, we have model number 017 with 36 likes and 11 comments. Next, we have model 006 with 131 likes and 190 comments. Next, we have model 012 with 6 likes. Model 011 with 24 likes and 6 comments. And next, we have model 008 with 13 likes. Model 009 with 7 likes. And we have model 010 with 9 likes. We have model 013 with 52 likes and 8 comments. And lastly, we have model 004 with 318 likes and 64 comments.
Now, if you want to vote for your favorite model, go to our social media pages, which is Diverse Global Studios, Ziegat Productions, and The Global Sunday. Click the like button or the follow button, and then you'll get an opportunity to choose the photo that you like and vote for your favorite. Thank you for watching today's episode. Let's do this again next week, same time, same place. Enjoy. Now next week, I'll be announcing the winner of Like My Page Challenge, and I'll also be introducing the new challenge. Watch this space.
Welcome everybody, the viewers at home, and Mr. David Pyke, Mr. Ken Laden, and our producer there at the studio of the Global Sundays. I would like to welcome you, Nelly Shozana, at our home, the loving and warm home of the Global Sundays. Can you tell us who is Nelly Shozana when you are entering?
Hi, thank you for having me. Nelly Shozana. Okay, my name is shortened here. The actual name is Nelly Sile, meaning satisfactory. I guess my parents were very satisfied by me. Then in short, they call me Nelly Shozana. I was born and bred in Pietermaritzburg, but now I am residing in Durban. I'm an author and a publisher. Okay, also get paid. I talk for a living. A public speaker. I guess as a child, I was always reprimanded for talking too much, but now I guess it's paying off. Yes, I worked in the Defense Force for 11 years. I resigned in 2017 to pursue my dreams of writing. Yeah, and then along the way, I just decided to publish for people. And what else? Oh, I write mostly about relationships. Okay, since I've been writing books concerning single people, and love, but now they call me the president of the singles. I have no idea why. I think it's because of my second book. It was titled Singular 34. So automatically, yeah, they just gave me the title of being the president of the singles. I'm not sure if I like it, but yeah, they call me that. What else am I leaving out?
Well, welcome, Nelly. It's wonderful to have you here with us. And I wonder if by the time you become 34, you will still be single. Since you're only 19, obviously. Welcome to our show. It's very good to have a fellow author. Writing books these days can be very challenging. There's a lot of competition. So I'm very interested when we get into our conversation to hear about that from you. I hope you're having a great time in Durban.
Thank you. Yes, I am having a great time.
Greetings, Nelly, from Australia. Lovely to meet you this morning.
Thank you.
I noted you said Pietermaritzburg's your birth area. I visited there about 3 times a long time ago. You might know the shop. It was called Barnfield's Music. There was a repair guy in Pietermaritzburg, or maybe not. But anyway, I used to get my trumpets gold plated in Pietermaritzburg. They do the best job there. So I love that area, and I love the Drakensberg, which was not so far away as well. I'm sure you went there many times. Yeah.
So I think that we are about to go into the process of our show. It's going to be wonderful to have a good conversation with you. We've got a lot of questions prepared, and our audience is very, very eager to hear from you. So I'm very excited about that. And so,
how was my week? Are you asking about my week? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. By the way, my week was fantastic. As I explained at the beginning of the show, to those who doesn't know who Miss Classic is, it is the queen of Global Sundays, the singer of jazz, and also the beautician and the teacher at the Tengempilo Primary School at Inanda. My week was good. I had an interesting interview with Atemba Mkize, and I also had a good show, Rafael Villagazi's show at the Stable Theatre, where we were doing a gender-based violence. And I'm sure Nelly is going to touch maybe on 1 or 2 of the books that she is writing or publishing that talk about the awareness of our gender-based violence in women and children of the nations globally. And also, I had a beautiful show today where we're celebrating Africa Month. It's Articulate Africa, sponsored by Parks and Recreations. And I had a fabulous show there with the Mkokstad and Klengu Mhlaba and Koleka and Auntie Majola. So my week was just nourished by all those things on top of the stress that I had to hear that my son passed away. But yeah, God gave me strength to listen to my music. As you know, music is therapy of our souls. So that's what I did. I just listened to music. I played my music at Inanda FM. That's all for now. So I will take it back to the panel.
How was your week, David?
Oh, very busy.
Is everyone okay?
I started the week off at a waterfall, and I sat under a waterfall for about 2 minutes, and then I realised that I had to get out of the waterfall and do some work.
Okay.
And I went down to the beach. A short biography was asked for. So, yeah, I'm based in Australia. I work with Ken Ludden and the Margot Fontaine Academy of Ballet. And the biggest project that we've been working on for about 3 or 4 years is a ballet called Niwa. And excitingly, it should be some sort of production of it, hopefully into 2022, at least the first act. And I've been a bit naughty this week because I'm supposed to write another few bars of stuff, but being involved with the shows and a few other things, I've just swapped the priority. But the work going with Mr. Ludd's been going for quite a while. It's orchestral, it's massive, it's over the top, and we love it.
You are watching Global Sundays.
Play with my private party. Play with my private party. She wanna play with my private party. Play with my private party. She wanna play with my private party. Play with my private party. She wanna play with my private party. Play with my private party. Silly thing, silly thing, silly thing. I feel I like the booty and everything. Sweetie big booty, she a big shot. She a rimmer with a big back. Yeah, she pillin' now with a big pack. Na go on the señorita. She finna go shopping in a Gucci. I tell her na me wanna wa. Show the big mama me and my bob man. Silly thing, silly thing, silly she wanna play with my private party. Play with my private party. She wanna play with my private party. Play with my private party. She wanna play with my private party. Play with my private party. She wanna play with my private party. Play with my private party.
Esse teu vibe me deixou muito bem. Chega aqui, moço. Teu toque gostoso. Na cama rimando. Quero ser teu comando. És cada vez mais cevado. Mas não seja malvado. Quer brincar com meu corpo, sim. Quer entrar mais no fundo, yeah.
She wanna play with my private party. Play with my private party. She wanna play with my private party. Play with my private party. She wanna play with my private party. Play with my private party. She wanna play with my private party. Play with my private party.
Question for you, Nelly, on behalf of the panel. It's talking about the time that you were in the South African Defence Force, and it was a national defence force. How did that sort of formulate within you to turn your attention to aid and uplift the individual in that time that you worked in the Defence Force?
Okay, first of all, a lot of people are wondering why I left. Okay, I felt like I had reached the cylinder. That was the reason. But I was still very much happy because they always say it wasn't a job, it was a way of life. They always told us this, that the Defence Force is a way of life, like the punctuality, discipline, how to listen to your superiors and all of that. So it was a nice 11 years of my life because I joined in 2006 and then I left in 2017. So I'm more of a person who likes to, okay, as I've told you earlier, that I write about relationships. So it's mostly about dealing with the heartbroken. Where I studied psychology, even though I did a degree, but I'm still planning to pursue my studies because I would like to do counseling. But it was all about me working with people, like working on one-on-one. As I wrote my first book, the title of that first book was Dismissing Excuses. I realized that people always go through stuff and then they always make excuses that I'm doing this because I went through this, you know, but I wanted to reach out. Whatever that you are going through, you are not alone. There are other people who are going through whatever that you are going through, or they are going through even worse than what you are going through. I hope I've answered you.
No, thank you so much, because I know that the Defence Force takes a civilian and a young person usually, and they break down the individual in a sense straight away. They break them into a collective unit of people, a teamwork of people, and I guess people have to put aside a lot of individuality in that process. And so out of your experiences over the time, I guess you've rediscovered the individual, that's, be it in a team or be it brought down that way. So you're writing about relationships and how the individual goes forward in life, I suppose, which is wonderful. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. And what I can say as well is that as much as we were soldiers, okay, I'll always be a soldier, you know, that if they say there is war, I'm sure I'm going to be called because I still have a first number. And I know I'm too young to be called a veteran, but I am a veteran. So because I applied for it for some reasons that I can't mention here, but what I've learned about that lifestyle was, as much as soldiers are soldiers, but they went through a lot, more especially during those old time where they went to war and stuff like that, and then they would go, they would suffer from depression and stuff like that. And then it's made me realize that, you know, individuals are very important. Hence, we had a psychologist, our own psychologists, you know, we had our own doctors and stuff. And it's made me realize that, you know, as much as I was still a soldier, but my passion lied on helping or assisting people individually. I enjoyed that. And yeah.
And
I think that sorry, David.
Just quickly, I guess when you're in the army or the military, it strains relationships a lot too. If you've got somebody back home or something and you're away a lot, so I guess you learn a lot about dealing with how to cope with distance relationship, perhaps.
Yeah, yes. I remember it was 2008. So we went we call this other exercise where we would go and practice as if it was war, what we would do if it was war. So I met this other guy. I was still new, I was clueless about relationships and stuff. So immediately when that exercise was finished, and then I went home. And he was staying in Pretoria, I was staying in Durban. And then when I tried to call him, he wasn't available on his phone and stuff like that. So they told me that welcome to your first heartbreak in the military, you know, because sometimes you think they promise you heaven and earth. You think, oh my goodness, I found my life, my love. And then the next thing, you know, as I was trying to say, that soldiers are human beings like any other human being. They have their own flaws, even relationship-wise, finances, you name it all. As I've said earlier, even depression.
Yes,
you know, that also in terms of international conflict and the need for armies and wars, you know, the diplomatic part of it can prevent a war, and that's all about relationships. You know, ultimately it's one ambassador and one minister understanding each other and communicating, one president, one commander, and then also, you know, when people travel a lot, they start to really understand all the differences in culture, and the more they see the difference in culture, the more they see the common element of the human being. And that is, you know, something that I imagine from your point of view in the national defense, you would have seen that it all boils down to those individual contacts, how much you trust someone, how well you can communicate and be understood, and how open-minded you are to understand others. So I think it's brilliant that you're bringing that base of knowledge and experience from 11 years into people's lives so that they can benefit from that in their own personal experiences.
Yes.
Yeah, while you're still on that, Sis Nelly, I wanted to check, do you prefer to see people dating on the same sector to avoid challenges maybe of not understanding each other? Like last week I was talking about productivity. So we spoke about if you are working, any type of the work that you're doing, that you must be able to explain to your partner so that emotions will not interfere with your work when you need to work. Like right now we need to work and he needs his time. So do you think it's good to maybe date someone who's in military while you're in military so that that person can understand better?
Yeah, for some it's easier. For me, when they tell someone that I'm dating that he must go away for the whole year, let's say I'm still in the military, I would understand, because even I would go away for the whole year. Sometimes when I'm gone, I'm still there, and then they would say, you need to stay 3 months extra, you know. Other people, they wouldn't understand, but some they do understand. I watch from the movies, especially in the US. I'm not sure if it's true, but I've seen it in the movies, you know. Oh, soldiers are very popular, and women, they seem to understand. But, you know, it depends, because I can see even right now what I'm doing as a self-employed person, and a lot of people, they don't understand. Sometimes I have to work throughout the week, you know. Sometimes I come back very late, but it's much easier for somebody who's in the industry. But it is not compulsory. It is entirely up to a person, as long as they can just communicate and understand one another.
Yes. Well, I'm very, very glad to you know, hear that you're putting that to good use. In our family, we've had many people in the military. As a matter of fact, my nephew, he was in military intelligence, and he was in intelligence doing after reports, after attacks, and he would have to go in and just look at everything that had just happened. And they had this new armor penetrating missiles or something like that. And I mean, and he called me from Baghdad one night, and he talked for about 2 hours because he just had to talk to somebody about what was going on, and he didn't want to upset his girlfriend. You know what I mean with that. So having that support network is also very, very important.
Yeah.
Okay, Nelly, I hear there must be some challenges that all the genders, male and female, face in the military, perhaps special ones as well for women in particular in that environment. And I believe we've got to go to the news now, so let's proceed to the news.
Okay, well, welcome. Welcome to Global Sunday News. Today is May 16th, 2021, and reporting for GSN, I'm Kenneth Ludden. Today, in the first segment of our news, we've got two almost conflicting types of stories. The first is about COVID, and at the same time, COVID is getting much worse in India and reaching new record highs of deaths and infections. And then at the same time, the vaccines are coming through. People are starting to have what they're calling pandemic freedom. And then at the same time, there is yet again a conflict in the Middle East. So watch this first news segment from Adadarana Studio 24 in Sri Lanka.
We start off today's coverage with the updates on the COVID pandemic. India plans to fight overwhelming numbers of infections in the country by incorporating former army medics into the country's unstable healthcare system, while calls for nationwide lockdowns grow louder.
India is to recruit hundreds of former army medics to support its overwhelmed healthcare system, the Defence Ministry said on Sunday. The country is grappling with record COVID-19 infections and fatalities. Deaths rose by more than 4,000 for a second consecutive day on Sunday, prompting angry calls for a complete nationwide lockdown. The Defence Ministry said some 400 medical officers are expected to serve on a contract for a maximum of 11 months, adding that other defence doctors had also been roped in for online consultations. On Sunday, India reported 4,092 deaths over the previous 24 hours. That's after its highest ever single-day death toll, 4,187 the day before. With an acute shortage of oxygen and beds in many hospitals, and with morgues and crematoriums overflowing, experts say the actual number of fatalities and cases could be much higher than reported. Pressure is mounting on Prime Minister Narendra Modi to announce a nationwide lockdown. He's been criticised for allowing huge gatherings at a religious festival and for holding large election rallies over the past 2 months, even as COVID-19 cases were surging. Many Indian states have imposed their own strict lockdowns. On Sunday, New Delhi's chief minister said a lockdown there would be extended by a week, and subway train services will also be suspended. For some residents in the capital, that's a cause for concern. Hospital worker Rahul says he's heading for his evening shift, but doesn't know how he will get home and does not have enough money to travel in taxis. The Indian Medical Association has called for a complete, well-planned, pre-announced lockdown instead of sporadic night curfews and restrictions.
To encourage people to get vaccinated, the South Korean government has announced that it'll help pay the medical bills of those who suffer severe reactions to their vaccines. Also, an expert panel has announced promising results in the approval process for the vaccine from Moderna.
Severely ill patients who show adverse reactions after getting a COVID-19 vaccine but can't get compensated due to the lack of causal link can now get support for their medical bills. South Korea's COVID-19 Vaccination Management Task Force announced on Monday that they'll be temporarily helping out patients from Monday next week. People who have received the shot or their guardian can visit the community health center to apply for the support. But if there's another reason for the adverse reaction, then they can't get the support. Meanwhile, South Korea on Monday began accepting COVID-19 vaccine reservations for the next group of senior citizens, those between the ages of 65 and 69. This is the second of the three-stage reservation program, which covers people between 60 and 74 who will be getting the AstraZeneca vaccine. The actual inoculations will take place from May 27th to mid-June. And as the vaccination process is ongoing, the country has announced its preliminary review of Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine, which largely backed its approval. The Ministry of Food and Drug Safety on Sunday held its first consultative meeting with an independent advisory panel, which confirmed the vaccine provides 94.1% protection against COVID-19 and forms strong antibodies 2 weeks after the second dose. This is the first of 3 review stages that the vaccine has to clear before it's approved.
While some countries are still trying to survive a deadly surge of COVID-19, there are some nations that are seeing positive results with successful vaccination campaigns and effective precautionary measure. Spain is one country that has lifted a state of emergency in place since October to fight the pandemic, allowing Spaniards to travel between regions for the first time in months.
Ringing in at the stroke of midnight. But the cheers emanating from Madrid's Puerta de la Sol Square were not from a traditional New Year's gathering, but rather to celebrate the end of a 6-month state of emergency and the lifting of a nationwide curfew. Despite the continued risks of the coronavirus, hundreds also gathered in Barcelona's squares, and equally joyous they danced the night away in the streets. Beyond the risk of a spike in cases that such parties create, the relaxing of the federal state of emergency has also come with much pushback and a legal mess. Restrictions are now at the discretion of Spain's 17 regions and 2 autonomous cities, and their courts. They've quickly become a patchwork of conflicting approaches. Madrid, for example, has opened up, while judges in Valencia and the Balearic Islands have kept up curfews. A hodgepodge of different rules that critics of Pedro Sanchez's government say are a sign that they're washing their hands of the pandemic. The government in turn has said that cases are coming down and the state of emergency could not continue indefinitely.
After months and miles of distance, many in the United States are getting moments they've desperately awaited. Mother's Day marked the first major holiday with a vaccine across the country as most states loosen restrictions. Experts say it hinges on vaccinations.
These are the Mother's Day moments we have been desperately awaiting. After months and miles of distance,
Happy Mother's Day!
finally, this.
It's so good to hug you! I know!
America's first major holiday with a vaccine.
I would say we are turning the corner. We now have, as of this morning, 58% of adult Americans with at least 1 shot. Over 110 million Americans fully vaccinated.
We are seeing the signs almost everywhere. Across the country, more and more states are loosening restrictions. In Los Angeles, a one-time epicenter, crowds shopping for Mother's Day flowers. But experts say it all hinges on vaccines. This weekend, Connecticut's governor announced 70% of adults in the state have received at least 1 shot, among the first to reach the major milestone. It's a rate President Biden is pushing to see nationwide by the 4th of July. But with the pace of vaccinations down nearly 40% since last month, and some states actually requesting less vaccine doses as demand decreases, health officials are working to convince Americans the best way to fully reopen and stay there is to roll up their sleeves. It's why some are taking to the streets, from grocery stores to laundromats, and going door to door, urging friends, neighbors, even complete strangers to get the shot. And now, a growing number of parents are anxiously awaiting options for their children. This week, the FDA is expected to approve a vaccine for 12 through 15-year-olds, a likely game changer for schools across the country.
Scores of people were wounded when Israeli riot police clashed with Palestinians at Jerusalem's Flashpoint Al-Aqsa Mosque compound, capping a week of violence in the Holy City and occupied West Bank.
The Al-Aqsa compound transformed into a battleground. Just under the Dome of the Rock, Israeli police unleashed clouds of tear gas, deafening and blinding stun grenades. While some Palestinians made their way out, others advanced, throwing stones and bottles at officers, at times coming face to face with security forces. For several days now, the East Jerusalem neighborhood of Shejara has become the center of unrest. After the Ramadan fast ended each evening, protesters took to the streets in solidarity with Palestinian families who face evictions. It's here where Israeli settlers hope to expand their presence. On Friday, Palestinians decided to take their demonstration to the Al-Aqsa compound just after the last Friday prayers of this year's Ramadan. The militant group Hamas, that controls the Gaza Strip, called on protesters to stay at the site until the end of the holy month.
The Israeli occupation must realize that the resistance is ready to defend Al-Aqsa at all costs.
The US, Israel's historic ally, called for de-escalation. The UN warned that forced evictions could amount to war crimes. Israel's Supreme Court is set to hold a hearing on the issue next Monday.
First news segment. Stay tuned later for the second news segment. Now we are going to go to a live performance by the opera idol Sonny Boy.
You are watching Global Sundays.
Je vais marcher sous vos drapeaux, à mes amis, qu'un jour de fête, je vais marcher sous vos drapeaux. Oui, celle pour qui je respire, en effet, à denier sourire, et ces doux espoirs de bonheur troublent ma raison.
Welcome back. That was just an amazing show. Opera music is always so incredible. I'd like to remind us all that our guest, Nelly Shozana, is here. She's an author. She's a professional lecturer. She has many books out that if you want to get them, you really should, because they will help you in your life. Now, Nelly, I have a question for you. And this may go against the grain a little bit, but it's something I know that my own children have had to deal with in their lifetimes. And as a father, sometime with my daughters, I don't know quite how to answer questions. But in many cultures and societies, there are these expectations, there are these written and unwritten rules that the kids are taught that are really not true and that make relationships more difficult. For example, the fantasy from Hollywood of love at first sight, and that marriage solves all the problems in your life. That, if you have a relationship, then everything's going to be perfect. And this leads to such discord in relationships because it doesn't acknowledge the humanity. So how do you deal with people who suffer from an overbelief in these social myths so that they can feel better about themselves and be more empowered to show up in relationships in reality?
First of all, remember I told you I wrote the book Singular 34. This one, I was 34 years at the time. It was in 2018. And the reason why I wrote that book was because people were telling me that's why were asking me why I didn't have a child or why I didn't have a boyfriend, as if at a particular age you must have a boyfriend and have a child, you know those norms, especially at church. And another thing was the love at first sight. I'm not against it, but based on my dating career, I call it that. I've seen quite a lot, because sometimes you meet someone, you don't know them, you decide, this is my person, and stuff like that. And only to find out that you hardly know that person. And after a while, you realize that you are not really into that person, because we all have, what do they call it? Deal breakers. Yeah, we all have deal breakers. Because I can deal with this, I can't deal with this. And another thing I've realized is that my friends who got married earlier than me, some of them, they realized that marriage doesn't solve all problems, If you are lonely before you get married, you'll still be lonely when you are married. And I've realized that other people, they think that they don't have to love themselves. As soon as they get married, the other person will do it for them. So yeah, they just assume that, and I've realized that's why after that I wrote a book titled A Self-Assured Woman, that nobody is going to love you if you don't love yourself, because you attract what you are, not what you want. That's the law of attraction, And I've realized that I also attracted the wrong kind of men, because I expected them to do what I couldn't do to myself. So this is how I help people who okay, love is beautiful, love is perfect, but love is the institution, but people are broken, Sometimes you'll expect somebody to go all out for you, and then if they don't, and then you think that they owe you. I'm not saying that in relationships we shouldn't be loved back. We should, but we should love ourselves first. That's what I always teach Abantu. That's what I always teach people, to love themselves first. My slogan says it begins with you. It's called self-love. I feel that if we can love ourselves enough, we'll know what we deserve and what we don't deserve. We'll know when to walk away, and we'll know when we are played, and we'll know when we are loved fully.
We had a director once, a woman who she was a very good director because she coached us personally. When you're a dancer, you're a professional by the age of 17 and you're traveling all over the world. So it's a very different thing. She said that somebody came in to the studio once, one of the girls in the company, she was in tears and her boyfriend had broken up with her. And our director, who is normally very kind and embracing, said to her, the only thing that is sexy in the world is self-confidence. So cry your tears, get yourself together, you embrace yourself, you love yourself, and then with confidence go forward. He wasn't the one for you. There's a much better one for you. And that was her advice. But I would like to sort of turn the commentary over to Miss Classic, because she has had a life very similar to mine in terms of travel and being in the public eye. And I think that she probably has some very, very good observations about parenthood, about being in a relationship, etc. Miss Classic, what do you have to share about that? Miss Classic, can you hear me? Okay, it seems like we're having some kind of a technical glitch again. Miss Classic, are you able to hear what I'm saying? or any of the panelists?
I can hearing you guys loud and clear. Just on that commentary by Ken, directing to Nelly, I think of people having a individualized pathway. If they may not be following it, but perhaps it's a part of their destiny, perhaps, or part of just their own motivation, which we'll talk about in a minute. Do you think self-love is when an individual realizes what their true essence is and they're following their pathway and they're true to that, and then if the relationship is able to be somewhat negotiated, but nevertheless the two individuals in the relationship are also able to follow their own pathway if they're living to some extent?
Yes, what happened was, I think I've learned to truly love myself in my 30s. That's when I accepted myself for who I truly am. Because sometimes, I'm very loud. I'm very, very loud, and and I couldn't accept that with myself. And there's a part where I wrote in my book that at a very early age, I was weight conscious. I saw all the wrong things about myself, about my body. And I remember there was a time, even at school, when I pulled out of all these other activities because I thought I wasn't good enough, especially even in debate, since I told you earlier that I talk too much. But for some reason, I felt like I wasn't good enough. I didn't fit. I couldn't fit. And I've realized that most of my relationship problems were caused by the lack of self-love, because once you start to accept yourself for who you really are, most of the problems is because of that. I'm not saying it's going to solve everything completely, since we meet people who are broken, but I'm saying that if we truly accept ourselves, we truly love ourselves enough and forgive ourselves for the mistakes that we make, because sometimes it's so easy for me to forgive you if you do me wrong. But when I do something wrong, it's so hard for me to forgive myself. It means I don't love myself enough, because I don't go easy on myself. So I'm not sure if I'm going off track or I'm answering your question.
No, I think you are. I suppose a person between the ages of particularly 20 and 30 are still very much on a realm of self-discovery. And you're talking about now coming into your 30s, and hopefully a person coming into their 30s, their mid-30s, has learned, made mistakes, had a lot of experiences, and is now coming to better understand themselves. And perhaps where the 20s to 30 period, without being a golden rule, is a period of self-discovery and experimenting and finding out about yourself. And maybe the relationships tend to be a little bit on and off, I suppose, until people can work out themselves better and find that self-love by understanding themselves in the first place, perhaps.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very much true. In your 20s, you have no clue what you are doing. You're just doing whatever, you are trying whatever. And then in your 30s, you're like, what was I thinking? And then you discover, you accept yourself, you embrace your flaws, it's just so beautiful. So my 30s have been so amazing. My 20s, I was chasing relationships left, right, center. I was trying. I wanted to get married. The church, all of my friends were getting married left, right, center. And then I felt, I was missing out. And then in my 30s, I think I made peace. I was like, no, it will happen in its own time. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh no, I was just embracing the talk that you're saying here, especially that deals with the self-esteem, because it starts when they're young. To have low self-esteem when they are going to school and they're with friends, they identify themselves as they grow, and neglect the self-love that they're supposed to give themselves. Even if you, as a parent, you keep on telling them you look beautiful, but they will think, mom is just saying that just because she's my mom. But there is a lot of conflict within our families, we're losing a support and love to our children, to tell them how beautiful they are. We identify them, we label them, we discriminate them. And I want our viewers at home and everybody who is watching right now to go back home and encourage everyone, especially the children, to tell them that it is your choice to discriminate. It is your choice to be biased. It is your choice to be stereotyped. So everyone must just give herself self-love. And before you can love other people and expect others to love you, it must start within yourself. That is all I can say, but I hope we're gonna learn more in your book. I'm looking forward to read The Self-Assured Woman, because you know, when you reach 40, you call the woman imgendevu. So I hope I'm not gonna get there. You know, women that are not married at the 40 age, they called imgendevu. It's a very funny word. So I'm just praying that I'm not gonna reach that, but I'm looking forward to read The Self-Assured Woman.
In English, we call that a spinster. And it's almost worse than being a widow. A spinster is somebody nobody wanted. It's terrible.
Yes.
It's absolutely terrible. Nobody ever said that about any man. You know, he's a bachelor. You know, and it is. I have 2 daughters and I have 2 granddaughters, and you know, I do everything I can to bring them up and to, you know, to make them believe in themselves. There are, well, I can't even say how much that people are valued and have value in the world. And what Ms. Klasko, what you've said is, yes, everybody at home, please, you know, teach your children and teach them not just by your words, but by your example. You know, if you have a neighbor that you've decided you hate, find out who the neighbor is. They're probably not deserving of your hate. And if they display a behavior that would make you resent them or want to retaliate, think about what kind of events in a child's life would turn out an adult that would have those behaviors. And try to give them something that maybe they didn't get during their childhood. Give them kindness, give them a second chance. Relationships go in every direction, not just romantic. And if you're going to be in the world successfully and at peace with yourself and the world, you have to value what's unique about you and what's unique about every other person.
Can I add on that? Yes, just to add on that, what you're saying, Mr. Ken, and what Nelly was saying, it's a result in suicidal cases. I was hearing Nomvula today, Nomvula Maneli, on the Facebook page, one of our best jazz artists. She's talking about the awarenesses that they are not happening, the awareness of the suicidal awarenesses, the groups that are, keeping them tight, the groups that are doing awareness about self-love and, you know, how to deal with rejection, how to deal with all these types, biasness and stereotyping, because they can't do it alone. Some of them, they grew up in the families where they are neglected. So we need to support and do more awarenesses, universities, colleges. We need to do more awarenesses on the self-love, self-esteem. So this will help.
I was listening to this now. I was just reminded of a recent media release in Australia of a woman who married herself, Nelly. She had a ceremony and she married herself. What would you think about that?
Was on pause.
I think I saw that one on TED Talk. Woman, she was doing a talk. It was amazing, you know, because she had divorced and then she was, a lot of women, we love marriage. I'm going to include myself, in fact, we idolize it. And we think that, after you are married, you've arrived, it's finished, there's nothing beyond that. So she divorced and then now she was lonely again. And then she realized that, you know what, I need to accept myself. I need to love myself. I need to appreciate myself, spend time with myself. So it was really beautiful for me because, you know, as I've said earlier, that sometimes we expect people to do things to us that we don't go an extra mile to do for ourselves. So yeah, I think there was a motive behind that. Like I think she felt the need.
That's
Yeah.
very good.
Well,
I think we've got to talk about our non-profit. Do you think that in traditional, particularly 20th century, even leading up to the 20th century, that and through religious belief systems and all sorts of things, Nelly, that there's an inherent guilt that we're programmed to have, and that kind of is something we've got to overcome if we're going to work on the self-love?
It's funny because the Bible says you must love your neighbor as you love yourself. And now they make you feel guilty that, you know, you can't focus on yourself. You should be selfless. Okay, it's fine. It's good to be selfless, but you can't give from a place of empty. You know, if your cup is not full, how are you expected to give love to other people, you know? So I think sometimes we can be hypocrites as you know, believers, you know, and then we'd say, no, you shouldn't go all out for yourself. But why not? Because the Bible says I must love my neighbor as I love myself, meaning I have to love myself first.
It's hard to help other people when you've got needs of your own. I always think of the lifesaver. If the lifesaver's not breathing well and sitting calmly on the beach and ready with the flotation device, and somebody's drowning, if they're drowning themselves or they can't swim properly, they really can't effectively help another person. They're just two people that are drowning. So I don't know if that analogy applies to what you're espousing here, but I think that's what you're talking about with the self-love, is that you have to get your house in order and love yourself. So then when your house is more in order, then you can be more loving or radiating more love to somebody else, perhaps.
Exactly. Yeah. Imagine you going there to save someone. You haven't eaten, you are hungry, you are tired. How are you going to save them?
It's absolutely true.
And I guess a lot of relationships, and I don't know the psychology to the levels that you've been studying, but I've heard, you know, a lot of relationships, they brand them as codependencies, don't they? Because there's neediness on both sides of the relationship, and they're hoping that, as you said earlier, that other people will come in and fill that void for them. But sometimes that void can't be filled by the other person, or it's too demanding, and the relationship then becomes toxic.
There's a balancing subject though here, as always. You know, there's the shadow of the thing that's being lit up, and that is also when you're in a relationship. A part of self-love is, if you need help, to be able to say that and to be able to receive it. I have seen couples actually dissolve their marriages, to ruin their marriages, because the one truly wants to help the other, and the one that really needs a help, their ego is too big to admit that they need help. And so they alienate and abandon their mate. They won't let them participate because they think that's a sign of weakness. And that's just insecurity, which is another form of self-loathing, is to not allow yourself to be helped. You know, one of the reasons that David and I work so well together artistically is because I don't try to be a composer. I'm not a composer. And David's not a choreographer. So we completely let the other help in, you know, when we need that help. And it makes this bond in our artistic process, not you know, we don't have any other kind of relationship. We're friends, but artistically, we can be so united because we allow each other to do what they're good at and admit what we're not good at. And in my own my current situation with my private life, you know, I've been 32 years with the same person, and if I can't If I can't do something, if I have trouble, if I need help, I've got to say it. And then I've got to let myself be helped. And yet, at the same time, I must be completely willing to go to the rescue with everything I've got when that is necessary. It's not a simple thing, but it's at the same time, it's so simple, you know?
Yeah. I'll take us to the news, it's fine.
Okay. All right. Are we going to go back to the news by Ken Ladin?
Okay, thank you very, very much. You know, talking about relationships and people not getting around in our second news segment today, it's just a testament to how much the wisdom of being in relationships and is needed. There are clashes, there's wars that are in the second news segment. There's the a Chinese rocket crash where the taking care of their own backyard. There are problems in elections, and then here we are after all these years since the Cuban Missile Crisis, right back trying to avoid nuclear holocaust. And so please watch this. Also from Adaderana, News 24 in Colombo, Sri Lanka.
Welcome back. Myanmar's ruling junta is focusing on creating a stable situation in the country before agreeing to allow a visit by Southeast Asian envoy as part of a 5-point consensus agreed by regional leaders last month. Major Kang San, a sportsman who was the ruling military council, told the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, of which Myanmar is a member, wanted to send a special representative and Myanmar would cooperate regarding the envoy when certain level of security and stability had been achieved. A large group of protesters were seen marching in the streets of Yangon to protest the coup. Myanmar has been in chaos since February 1st coup, which ended a decade of economic reform and tentative steps towards democracy initiated by the military after 49 years of rule in the impoverished but resource-rich country. At least 769 people have been killed and nearly 3,700 detained by the Myanmar's military since the coup. According to the Assistance Association for Political Prisoners, a monitoring group outlawed by the military. After a session of a large Chinese booster rocket plunged to Earth, NASA has lambasted Beijing, pinpointing its failure to meet responsibility standards regarding the control of space debris.
After days of speculation, many people were holding their breath, waiting for this moment, when the remains of a Chinese rocket finally hurtled towards Earth. There was no way to predict where they would land. Finally, the debris finished in the Indian Ocean, just west of the Maldives. The news brought a sigh of relief for the scientific community, while China insisted that the chances of the Long March rocket causing casualties were very low. NASA has criticized Beijing for irresponsibility.
Spacefaring nations must minimize the risks to people and property on Earth of re-entries of space objects and maximize transparency regarding these operations. China is failing to meet responsible standards regarding their space debris.
It's not the first time the Chinese have taken this risk. In May 2020, debris from another rocket passed over New York and Los Angeles. Before landing in West Africa, parts were found on the ground in a village in the Ivory Coast. While there were no reported injuries, the wreckage did damage some buildings.
France has decided it has had enough of climate change disasters as thousands gather in Paris to protest the new actions taken by the government to prevent climate pollution, claiming that a bigger impact must be made immediately. For more on this, let's cross over to Other Than a World News special correspondent Chetana Dharmaratna, who joins us now from Normandy in France. Chetana?
Yes, Shanali. Thousands of protesters took to the streets of Paris to urge the government to do more to tackle the climate emergency. Environmentalists have denounced the climate law voted by the French Assembly as a failure and are calling for more ambitious measures. France aims to cut greenhouse emissions by 40% by 2030 compared to the 1990 levels. But the environmental activists say it's dragging its feet. In a landmark ruling in February, a court ruled France must do more to combat climate change. The legalization follows a citizens' consultation during which 150 members of the public suggested dozens of measures to curb the emissions. Numerous participants criticized President Emmanuel Macron for diluting their ideas. But a year ahead of France's presidential election and with Green parties performing well elsewhere in Europe, Macron hopes the bill will boost his environmental credentials. Back to you, Shanali.
Thank you. That was Other Than a World News Special Correspondent Chaitanya Dharmaratna reporting from Normandy in France. Keir Starmer, the United Kingdom's opposition leader, was not one to comment following a very poor voting result in local elections. The losses were immense at this time's election, with multiple seats taken from Labour councillors. For more on this, we have Other Than a World News Special Correspondent Dilini Senviratna from London in the United Kingdom. Dilini.
Yes, Shanali. UK opposition party leader Keir Starmer refused to comment on the sacking of his party chairperson and campaign chief, Angela Rayner, following poor showing in local elections. Starmer was seen leaving his house in London when reporters gathered outside asked him to comment on Rayner's removal, which happened following the overwhelming loss of a once safe parliamentary seat, a party source confirmed. Results from the elections have seen some 300 Labour councillors losing seats on English councils on top of defeat in Hartlepool, a once unthinkable victory for Prime Minister Boris Johnson's Conservative Party. Starmer, who has struggled to revive his party's fortunes since a disastrous national election in 2019, had said he was bitterly disappointed and would take responsibility for fixing the situation. Starmer is set to reshuffle Labour's front bench after the party suffered large losses in local elections to the ruling Conservative Party in key areas such as the northeastern English town of Hartlepool. Meanwhile, in Scotland, Scottish National Party leader Nicola Sturgeon was seen posing for photos in the town of Airdrie after her pro-dependence party won an overall majority. Sturgeon said after her election win that she would push ahead with plans for a new independence referendum. Back to you, Shanali.
Thank you. That was Other Than a World News Special Correspondent Dilini Senviratna reporting from London in the UK. US President Joe Biden promised to move quickly to rejoin the 2015 nuclear deal with Iran. But 3 years after former President Donald Trump pulled out of the deal, that pledge is proving to be easier said than done.
Joe Biden had promised to move quickly to rejoin the nuclear deal with Iran, but 3 years after Donald Trump pulled the U.S. out of the JCPOA, that pledge is easier said than done. Tehran wants all of its demands met before returning to compliance, while the Biden administration is under pressure at home to not give in too easily on sanctions.
I think Biden is very misguided in thinking he should go back into the Iran nuclear deal. It was a bad deal when it was made in 2015. It has not gotten better with age. The United States now has incredible leverage over Iran, not as much as we should have. I don't think Trump applied enough pressure. But if Biden gives it away, he will virtually guarantee that the sanctions will collapse and ultimately Iran will get nuclear weapons and the ballistic missiles to deliver them both on Europe and on the United States.
The Biden administration argues that withdrawing from the deal and imposing more sanctions only pushed Iran to develop its nuclear program, but sees a return to the JCPOA as a possible stepping stone for what it calls a stronger deal.
The Biden administration is in a difficult position, having to prove it's not the Trump administration by wanting to return to the nuclear deal with Iran and also wanting to show that the Biden admin better understands the balance of power and the different interests in the region.
Just before the latest round of indirect talks, a State Department official said a return to the JCPOA would be an opportunity for the U.S. to start new discussions with both Iran and its neighbors to address regional security.
There you have our news coverage for today's segment. The world has many capable leaders, and sometimes their arguments with each other are meant to form a consensus, and sometimes it just disrupts forward progress. So we will look forward to next week and see if some of these conflicts have been resolved. Thank you for watching the news.
Very well said by Mr. Ken Laden. Thank you so much. Welcome back to our lovely viewers at home and to our guests at the studio. Now we're going to just go straight to our motivation for today, which is trying to make sure that you have peace. So peace is the way before the technology can, get into our way. So peace, definition of peace, it is the freedom from disturbance, tranquility, or it is a state of period in which there is no war or war has ended. So where there is no war, there is peace. You can have similar words beside the word peace, which is still or quiet. So those are the similar words that goes together with peace. So I'm going to give you the codes for today because ixesha lizodliwa ingcanga. So we're running out of time. So I'm just going to go straight. There are those who try to break you are expecting you to be in a fight mood. So conquer them with your peace. So if anyone is trying to get in your way or trying to break you, you must just be in a fight, not be in a fight mood, and just conquer them with peace. Ukuthula. Peace is not the absence of conflict, but the ability to cope with it. So it's not about how you're going to fight in the conflict. It's about how you're coping when you are in it. And peace and solidarity in Europe is not a law of nature. It requires caring efforts and perseverance. We need to have perseverance, because if we don't have perseverance, that means we don't have peace. So from the day to day, you say, I don't eat junk food and I don't think junk thoughts are for me. So you must assess what is good for your mind all the time and what is good for your heart. That's what we mean to say. So in ending, I will say peace is seeing a sunset and knowing who to thank. So thanks to everyone that are viewing our global show today, and to all our guests and all our hosts, and also the producer and the crew. This is what I'm doing right now, to just give you gratitude, to show that I have peace. And I'm sure the Global Sunday is looking forward to have you again next week. The same time, same place. Boo, 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 boo.
What do you think about that, David?
I'm listening to the definitions as Ms. Classic has beautifully expressed them. I know from a Tibetan Buddhist perspective, I was reading the other day, it was saying that when we react to somebody's anger, we are giving them power. So I guess the philosophy is an old one, and it's as true as it was that time as it is now, is that if somebody is angry with us, it's because within themselves, I suppose they're finding the fault within themselves. And if we react in the moment of the conflict, then we're giving power to them. But if we don't react, we just listen or take on board, and we don't allow our ego to have to fight back on that moment, we're depowering the person's intent, the other person's intent, and hopefully it de-escalates a conflict. And another thing that came to mind is the wisdom of saying that if you're angry with somebody, if you can, don't respond up to 24 hours minimum. It's very hard to do that in real time, and we're in the moment and we're angry and we're aggravated. But I know I've tried that a couple of times myself, and so all the things that Miss Classic just alluded to resonate very strongly with me. I can see the wisdom in what she's saying there.
I like what David said now. I took it back. I went to the shop. I'm used to this woman, and immediately when I entered the shop, Neo, you are so fat. I hate it when people comment about my weight. I attack them. But for some reason, I acted so short. I was really proud of myself. I just said, oh, okay, maybe it's because of something I'm working. And then she continued to say, no, you look really fat today. And I was like, okay, this is getting personal. But then again, I didn't react. And as you were saying, I was reminded of a say that says, sometimes you can't stop the birds from flying over your head, but you can stop them from building a nest. Yeah. So I know that I can't stop other things that are happening to me, but I can control my reaction to those things. So yeah, I thank you so much for this. I think every one of us, we need peace.
I look forward so much every week to Miss Classic's motivation. I had a spiritual advisor once who I would be angry and I would go and describe all the wrongs that were done to me. And what I would get in response was, why are you giving that free rent in your head? And that really woke me up. When I was young and in my peak of my ballet career, I was traveling a lot, and there was one city I went to very often, and I stayed at the home of the director, and they had a housekeeper who was very, very old. She must have been at least 3,000 years old, because I was 18 and anybody over 20 was old. And one of the times, I was angry about something, and she said, love is God's sword and it can conquer anything. God and the devil in a fight, all God has to do is love the devil, and the devil doesn't know how to deal with that. And my own father would often tell me, that which you oppose, you strengthen. If David is arguing a point with me, and if I argue back, we're not going to resolve anything. We're just going to get stronger and stronger in our disagreement. And so I Miss Classic, in this day and age when people are feeling so vulnerable and there is so much economic insecurity and health insecurity, it's really easy to let that insecurity turn into something quite opposite of peace. And so, yes, so I wanted to sort of turn the focus a little bit here, Nelly, get back to you and say, what kind of impact have you seen with COVID on people's overall emotional state?
People had a lot of fear, including myself. As I've said, that I'm self-employed. So last year, for us, last year, they said that we were going to close for 21 days. And then after 21, we thought, okay, after 21 days, COVID was going to be, boom, gone. And then after 21 days, it was extended and it kept on, and on and on. Business were closing and, people were losing their jobs. It was so sad. And that's when we realized, I'm not being racist or anything, but we used to say that Black people, they don't suffer from depression. Those kind of diseases, they need people with money, and stuff like that. And it was so funny because people have started going psychologists, to deal with anxiety, depression. People are really stressed. They are really stressed because they don't know what will happen tomorrow, and the fear of the unknown. And I remember last year I developed adult acne. I never had, not even one pimple when I was a teenager. Now I had stress. I had to go to a dermatologist, and that's when I realized that this thing, it didn't only come with the disease. We didn't have a cure or anything, but it came with a lot of mental illnesses that we weren't even aware of and that we were not even prepared for. I know even after the thingy, the cure, that they'll think that life will go on, but people are still depressed. You know, people have lost so much. Other families, I remember this other lady was talking. She said she's the only one who's left at home. She had to bury everyone, even the funeral covers. They couldn't even pay off because the money was exhausted. You know, all those things, and I really feel that even after this thing, maybe, just maybe, the government should really, really think this through and just take people through counseling and stuff, because not because of death, but a lot has happened. And even other marriages, you know, other people are no longer married because of this. This other lady was telling us that she wasn't used to staying with the husband in the house, you know, because he was always traveling. Now it was so hard. She didn't even know how to talk to her own husband, you know. So this is how serious COVID is.
This is so bad. So this is the reality behind the wedding cake, right?
I see a book.
Yeah, reality behind the wedding cake. Yeah. All right then. Sis Nelly, now we are on the gender-based violence awareness with you now on this one that I'm going to pop to you now. With the global focus now, more focused on the woman in society, what advice would you give to the young children as they develop their identity and self-esteem?
First of all, I feel like it's not balanced. You know, women are more prepared and men are not. And my question is, who's preparing these men? You know, they prepare me, you're gonna be like this and this when you go, when you get married, or be high self-esteem, and then you get married to a man who's low self-esteem because he's not prepared. You know, first of all, I feel that we need to balance this. You know, we need more men seminars and stuff like that. You know, in August, it's gonna be women this, women that, you know. But at the same time, I do understand because, you know, I think earlier, I'm not sure whether it was David or who mentioned something about, like, there are no names for men. You know, if you are old and then you are not married as a man, they won't call you Mjendevu.
Yeah.
And there's a name for you, you know, and I understand the pressure when we grow up as women, you know, and they will tell you, your body is not good enough. Who's going to marry you, you know? And as I've said earlier, the key is self-love. That's when you develop your self-esteem. You realize that you matter, you know. Even if you are 40, I hope you're not gonna get there. If you are 40 and then you are not married, but you do matter, you know. Marriage doesn't make you. You are you before you are married, you know. And I feel like even in schools, you know, I was my brother. He always calls his child. He says, hi Mobiza, you know, hey, you ugly thing. I'm like, no, you don't play like that, sweetheart.
Yeah.
And then he would say, no, I'm joking. She knows that. And I'm telling you, no, you are sending this thing to the subconscious mind, even though you know that you are playing. But as she grows up, she'll think she's ugly. Pardon me, ugly. Yeah, and then how are you going to fix that? So I feel even parents, they should, you know, you can't just play with anything with your child. You can't say, hey, you huge stomach. Like, yeah, I do have a huge stomach, but you don't have to remind me every day. You know, they used to tell me that I have a huge forehead. And then I was like, I know I do have a mirror. You don't have to remind me. Exactly. Exactly. And I feel some of the things they tell us as we grow up, you know, jokingly, but somehow our subconscious mind, it doesn't know whether you are joking or not. Even the universe doesn't know whether you are joking or not. It's like you are sending that message, you will see this person is ugly, you know, and then you grow up walking around thinking I'm ugly, I have a forehead. So what if I do have a forehead? I don't need to be reminded every day.
And some of the friends will also call you with that name that you are called at home because they visit you at home. They will call you Spong. So it reduces the self-esteem and it causes a lot of psychologically a damage into the child's mind. And also, just to highlight on that name of the men, why they don't have the names, they are giving them sweet names like sugar daddy and blessers, you know, some fancy words, instead of giving them that ugly word like mjendevu, you know. So yeah, this is what is happening.
Yeah,
Mr. Pyke.
there's something that I read a while ago about the thousands of images. If you drive into any normal city, not just Coca-Cola and products, but the models that are usually attached with them, and so nearly every advertisement might use a model person. It could be a male or a female, but the images that our young people are confronted with on television, just in advertising, it's people that have fitted a mold of what a producer thinks is need, to sell a product, etc. And of course, many of our young girls in particular don't realise that there's a lot of Photoshop work even done on the model's picture, and that some of these models don't even eat properly. They're very underweight. They're not even a realistic version of what a young lady should be, and they're bombarded with these images through magazines, through advertising constantly, and so the subconscious is overwhelmed. And I think there should be education, more proactive education for males and females about what advertising is there, why it's not the real world. And as you said, we've all got our idiosyncrasies and our features that make us unique, and instead of celebrating them, we're subconsciously told that we should hide away, and hide these features from the world. And this is a big disconnect in healthy mind, I believe.
True.
I'm in the ballet world, and I was born in 1952. And by the time I started to do my career, which would have been 1966, I was just 14 when I started getting invited to perform professionally. There were two worlds of ballet. There was the world that I was in, which was the classical world. And in a classical ballet, you've got tall people and short people and skinny people and fat people. You've got every kind of body type represented on the classical stage. You've got the whole world. But then at the same time, in the 60s and the 70s, this new modern thing was happening with ballet, with a Russian man named George Balanchine. And he, as a choreographer, was very inspired by 12, 13, 14-year-old girls who were very flexible and very thin, because that's the way the world made them, and he had very powerful, wealthy people behind him, and that became the standard. And today in ballet and at our academy, we have to fight to get the perception of self correct. There was this study that they did, that they had a mirror that had like a little control stick, like on a video game, that could make it bend, and they had dancers standing in front of it and adjust the mirror so it showed them the true picture of themselves. And every single dance, these skinny dancers rendered this huge fat person. Even though they were skinny, they saw themselves as fat. I think that that's a very, very important thing to correct in our society at the level of advertising. But then also, there has to stop being this stereotypical blanket of perception, and that society has to become more fair.
I think it's time for the news again, Mr. Ludden.
Well, this is the segment of the news, yes, that is about a charity doing miracles in the world. As I said earlier, if you take all the armies and put them together, and all the congresses and all of the mayors, it's still not as many people, the hundreds of millions, if not billions, who work for charities, who donate their time to make the world a better place. Today, we're going to look at the legacy of a young man whose name was Francois Xavier Bagnot, a young French boy, I believe the beginning of this video may correct me. He might be from another country than France. But listen to his story and look at the incredible work that the charity in his name, created by his mother, has done in the world. So as they're queuing up the video,
François-Xavier Bagneau loved rescuing people. In adulthood, he rescued people as a helicopter pilot in the Alps. In 1986, he died in a tragic accident. His mother, Albina Dubras-Rouvray, wanted to continue her son's passion. She did so in two ways. The first was to support those things that Francois cared most about: the alpine valleys in which he flew his missions, space, air flight, his university. These are supported by the FXB Foundation. The second was to create an NGO, FXB International, which would help rescue the poorest people on the planet, those suffering from the most extreme poverty, such as children orphaned as a result of AIDS. This is achieved through the FXB Village Programme, a pioneering approach to eradicating poverty. This programme was radical. It went against the fashion of the time. It was not just one solution, but several, working as one. FXB invested in the basic needs of human life: health, housing, education, and nutrition. It then added the fifth element: business. A business that, within 3 years, makes it possible for each FXB village to pay for itself and become self-sufficient, so breaking the cycle of poverty. To raise funds for these two strands of activity, Albina sold 3/4 of what she owned. She put everything into the foundation and the NGO, including the FXB Village programme. That was 25 years ago. The work continues, it inspires, and it works.
Thank you very much for watching that. Very much for watching that video. I have a very personal relationship with the François-Xavier Bagneau Center for Health and Human Services, which is just one of the divisions. For 5 years, I served as the ambassador for AIDS orphans worldwide on behalf of the state of California. One of the things about the François-Xavier Bagneau Center is that it has been acknowledged by the United Nations, and they have made a fund that takes care of all their administrative costs for their organization, which means that every penny that is donated to them goes directly to their programming. Now, they had a problem in sub-Saharan Africa and India and Polynesia in the AIDS crisis, where there were many villages that there was no one alive in the village or in the surrounding area older than the age of 15. At the same time, there was a myth that if you were a man and suffered from AIDS, or if you were a woman suffering from AIDS, if you had sex with a virgin child, it would cure AIDS. And this was spreading the disease to younger and younger people. It was just a horrible atrocity. And we're talking about 1999 and the year 2000. They turned to me and asked me if I would be the ambassador for these children because I teach children. What I found out about this organization is instead of giving money to people, what they would do is they would build central homes with a big kitchen, and they would take a collective of 5 or 6 or 7 grandmothers who were willing to come together, and then those 5 or 6 or 7 might have 120 young people with no parents, and they would build these homes, they'd build schools, they'd build hospitals. They would give them a goat so that they would have milk and be able to also process waste as goats do. They would give them a Jeep. They would give them a cell phone. And this started this trend that is now there for doing microloans to women all over the world, giving them technology and access and letting them take care of the problems. They found that the male elder groups in many of the societies and the tribes were just stealing money and stealing provisions, and no one was looking after these children. I want to express my gratitude to Francois Xavier Bagneau Center for all of the work that they have done all over the world. And I want to encourage you at home to volunteer. You don't have to give money. You can give your time. And if you can't get to one of these organized things, find an old person who's alone, who maybe isn't eating because they can't stand up and walk or stand for long enough to cook. Find a child who is being ignored. Read them a book. Listen to somebody's story. Charity work is what's going to cure this world of all of its ills. And it's something that you must do from your heart. Again, this is a regular portion of our show each week. If you have a charity that you're aware of that is doing good work, let us promote it so that our viewers around the world can donate their time, can donate their money, can donate whatever it is that is needed that they're able to donate. And so thank you very, very much for watching that. And now we're going to return to our program and Nelly. And I have a question for you, Nelly. Now, this is a question that I put to all of the choreographers I work with. And perhaps I can address this initially to Miss Classic because it would also apply to her and her life. If you were given a magic microphone, that every single thing you said through that microphone would be translated into the language of every person listening, what would you say to the world? If you had that magic microphone, what would you say? And before we answer the question, we're going to take a short break with a video. And when we come back, we're going to ask that question of our guests and our panel. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you at the other side of the video. Welcome back. Ms. Classic, I wanted to address this question to all of our panel and special guests. If you had a magic microphone that could translate what you say into a language everyone could understand in the world, what would you say?
All right. Beside my motto, which says never give up, because all the problems that are happening or challenges that people are facing are based on them giving up on their lives. I will say to them, life is not measured by the number of breaths that we take, but by the moments that we that take our breath away. So they must never give up. And also to say, surround yourself with what you love. Especially as I'm a musician, I would say music or dance or any hobby that they are interested or have ability to do. That's all I can say to them. I don't know about Pyke.
What about you, David?
I would just say, I would borrow this as I do often. I would say, be kind to each other. Because
it is very
kindness is not just doing something for other people or solving their problems for them. And sometimes it's kind to just let people work things out for themselves as well. It's a very complex statement, although it's a very simple statement. But drawing back what Nelly was saying about we must love ourselves. So obviously you have to be kind to yourself. That's part of the self-love, and then being kind to other people is applying wisdom to the context or the situation. You have to be a good listener, and you have to be empathetic with people, but not necessarily join in their despair, but have empathy for them, and that's very difficult. So that's a whole university of course to unpack anything like that. But the message on the magic microphone: be kind to each other.
And each of us is a celebrity to a degree, and including our special guests. And as a celebrity, even if it's a small celebrity slot, even if you're the head nurse of your nursing unit, you are a celebrity to those people. You have a lot of hope is put into you by the patients and the doctors and a lot of people. But when you're in the performing arts, as we are, we travel all over the world. We perform for thousands and tens of thousands, and on our lifetime, hundreds of thousands of people. And with media and recordings, that goes into millions of people. If a lot of times people place superhuman expectations on us as celebrities. And we need to be viewed, though, to be able to make our mark, to be able to reach our audience. We have to be authentic. We have to be human. We have to show that we aren't different. We don't have some advantage. If anything, people that are in the performing arts, at least the fine arts as we are, the difference between other people and us is that we don't ever rest, and we have to work way, way, way harder than a lot of people. But it doesn't look like that from the outside. It looks like we're blessed or graced. What would you say that you do to bridge that gap, to bring your humanness into your work so that people can see you as authentic rather than just putting on a show? Miss Classic, what do you do in that regard?
Can you reframe again? Can you rephrase the question?
Yeah. Is that as a celebrity, people look at us as if we have some special advantage or we're automatically rich because we are on a billboard or something like that. And yet we have to be human and authentic to be able to reach our audience, to really impact them. So how do you bridge the gap between your celebrity and your mastery of singing and teaching so that you're credible to your audience?
Okay, I actually I separate everything that I do because I have like four or five jobs. So I have to be myself.